Hey guys, this is Jam of jamonline.ph, and today we will compare the Realme C1 and the Huawei Y6 2018. So both smartphones are really good. Actually, we've reviewed both of these smartphones and we gave a really good reception on these two smartphones. While the Huawei Y6 2018, we've reviewed this one a month ago, while this one is actually new, the Realme C1. Anyway, before we proceed to our comparison, let's talk about the specifications of both smartphones. So the Huawei Y6 2018 features a Snapdragon 425 processor with 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of internal storage, and there's a 5.7-inch HD Plus IPS display with 18:9 display aspect ratio. There's a single lens 13 megapixel rear camera, a 5 megapixel front camera. There's Android 8.0 Oreo with EMUI 8.0, and it has a 3000 milliamperes of battery. While the Realme C1 has a 6.2-inch HD Plus display with 88.8% screen-to-body ratio. That is really good. There's a Snapdragon 450 processor, 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of internal storage, 13 megapixel plus 2 megapixel rear camera, 5 megapixel front camera. There's Android 8.1 with ColorOS 5.1, and there's a 4230 milliamperes of battery. So when it comes to specifications, you already know that the Realme C1 has a big advantage compared to the Y6 2018. So let's compare both of these smartphones. So first things first, let's talk about the build quality and the design of both smartphones. So the Huawei Y6 2018 has a plastic build. Well, it's not that bad. I mean, it's light, yes, but the feel of this smartphone is cheaper compared to the Realme C1. So we got a plastic back, a plastic sides, and it does look simple and generic to me. And again, there's no premium feel to the smartphone. However, the Realme C1 has a more premium look into it, and it actually has a premium feel into it because of the laminated glass back. And don't forget that this one comes with a Gorilla Glass 3, so you already know that the Realme C1 is protected by Gorilla Glass. It means that it won't break easily. It is sturdy. Actually, I dropped the smartphone a lot of times and it doesn't show any scratches into it or even any breakage to its glass. I'm actually amazed with how sturdy and solid the Realme C1 is. Both smartphone features a micro USB port and also a headphone jack. However, the headphone jack of the Huawei Y6 2018 is placed at the top of the smartphone, while the Realme C1 is placed just beside of the micro USB, which is placed below the smartphone. There's a volume rocker and a power button, and both smartphones has a SIM card tray. Again, the smartphone or the Realme C1 has a more premium build with its laminated glass back, and I actually like the feel of this one. However, it has a fingerprint smudges when you use the smartphone too much, while the Huawei Y6 2018 has that plastic back, so you won't really notice or you won't see much nudges or fingerprints at the back of the smartphone. One of the big differences between the two smartphones is its display. The Y6 2018 packs a 5.7-inch HD Plus display, while the Realme C1 has a 6.2-inch HD Plus display. However, there's a notch on the Realme C1. That's why we have a better screen to body ratio, and it has a 19:9 display aspect ratio. So I wouldn't really care about losing the notch on the Y6 2018. However, I just have a really good display quality on the Realme C1 despite both smartphones have an HD Plus display. I mean, the colors are better on the Realme C1, the contrast and the brightness, even at direct sunlight, the Realme C1 has a big advantage compared to the Y6 2018. And again, since we got a larger display, it means that we have more screen to see the content. And when it comes to playing games, I would like to have a bigger display and less bezel. That's why when it comes to display, I would go for the Realme C1. When it comes to battery life, both smartphones have a really good battery life. However, the Realme C1 takes the crown as the smartphone is the longest smartphones, longest battery life that I've ever reviewed on a smartphone. Actually, the Realme C1 was able to reach, I think, a 2.5 days on me, an average use, or a 2 days, or at heavy usage, it's a 1.5 day. However, the Y6 2018 is just a day and a half or a single day, depending on my usage. And when it comes to PC Mark, I actually have a really great score on the Realme C1. I'm actually amazed with the battery life of the smartphone. The battery optimization, the battery efficiency, everything was really great on the Realme C1. I'm actually happy with the battery life of the Realme C1 compared to any smartphones that I've ever reviewed. When it comes to performance, the Realme C1 packs a Snapdragon 450 with 2 gigs of RAM, while the Y6 2018 packs a Snapdragon 425 processor with 2 gigs of RAM. The difference between the two is actually really big, despite both smartphones at the Snapdragon 400 series. When I played PUBG Mobile on both smartphones, the difference between the two when it comes to frame rates is actually well, it's not drastically big, but you could actually notice between the difference between the Snapdragon 425 and the Snapdragon 450. I actually prefer playing on the Snapdragon 450 not just because of its performance, but also of its thermal efficiency. I find the Snapdragon 450 cooler than the Snapdragon 425. But don't worry about the Y6 2018 because the smartphone can still run most applications and games, especially casual games. But don't expect heavy games on both smartphones. But again, the Snapdragon 450 of the Realme C1 is a lot better compared to the Snapdragon 425 of the Huawei Y6 2018. When it comes to camera, the 13 megapixel plus 2 megapixel rear camera is way better compared to the 13 megapixel single lens rear camera of the Huawei Y6 2018. First, we got a portrait mode on the Realme C1. That's why the bokeh or the depth sensing on the Realme C1 is better compared to the Y6 2018. However, I find the dynamic range of the Y6 2018 better sometimes, in some cases. However, overall, the color, the contrast, the sharpness, I would still go for the Realme C1 rather than the Y6 2018. When it comes to selfie camera, I find the color accuracy of the Huawei Y6 2018 better compared to the Realme C1. However, the selfie camera of the Realme C1 is sharper, and I think it is better overall compared to the Y6 2018. So overall, it's actually a landslide win for the Realme C1. I'm not surprised because the smartphone was just released here in the Philippines a few weeks ago, while the Y6 2018 was already available a few months ago. So, you know, you already know that the Realme C1 has a big advantage compared to the Y6 2018 today. So yeah, I guess that's it for a comparison of the Y6 2018 versus the Realme C1. So if you like this video, don't forget to give us thumbs up. And if you don't, well, still, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Jam Online PH, and of course my Instagram, Facebook page and Twitter, and of course my Facebook groups. Just search Jam Online PH. You could see that, so you could discuss, you could ask me about these smartphones. So yeah. So once again, I'm Jam of jamonline.ph, and thanks for watching our comparison or the comparo of the Huawei Y6 2018 and the Realme C1.